We'll tell the story that ends with French Lick. It goes over very well in Southern Indiana. And it also goes over well in Boston. Because Larry Bird, of course. Celtics. Otherwise, not so much. It doesn't really go over in Maryland. Maryland, Kansas, doesn't really go over. I can't repeat what Joan just said.
Yeah, so for people who don't know me, I'm Sean Hawkins. I'm the chair of the Writers Guild of Bloomington. I'm also the co-coordinator, along with Pat Wass and Tony Brewer, of the First Wednesday Spoken Word series. And I have to say, this is the last First Wednesday Spoken Word series. When we cross over into the new year, we're moving to second Thursday. And so I have to say that for the last First Wednesday Spoken Word series event, it really does warm my heart to see so many people here, and it is a privilege and an honor to turn it into a special event in celebration of Jenny Kander. So thank you all for coming. And so I have the bona fides are that I have some announcements to make, and I'll explain a little bit about how the evening's going to go, and then Jason will give us a song, and then we can welcome Jenny. So, for people who are members of the Writers Guild, we have our annual meeting, potluck, and election of the board on Saturday, December 9th, from 1 to 4:30 at the University Baptist Church. That's 3740 East 3rd Street. It's down in the lower parking lot. And for all of these announcements, if you hear them and they just go by, you can find all this information at our website, which is writersguildbloomington, all one word, .com. We sponsor a Third Sunday Write group, and it's a virtual gathering place featuring monthly prompts and members writing, members possessive writing. And if you are interested in finding out more about it, you can talk to Shauna, who's this lovely lady here, or you can email her at shauna747@gmail.com. And we will be having, there will not be a December last Sunday poetry because of the holiday. There will be a First Sunday prose in January, on January 7th. And it will be Sharon Pugh and Richard Jurison will be reading. And it will be at Morgenstern's, but they're kind of negotiating with us about the time. So I'll be sending information out in the newsletter, and please, if you're interested in following that series, do check the website to make sure they're going to be standing in the middle of the devotional literature section. I'm wondering, where are they? So tonight, remarks. Jason's going to give us another song, and then Jenny. And after Jenny reads, we're going to have two sessions of lightning reads. And so there should be, I hope you all have gotten a program that looks like that. That looks like this. Because since we're going to be moving fast, I'm just going to be introducing people, or people will be introducing people, and we won't have time to read everybody's bios. But they are all here, so if you hear something that you like and you want to find that person again, you'll be able to do so. It sounds like a dating service. We'll be able to find them again. So please join me in welcoming Jason for another song. And thank you again. Thank you all for coming.
Before Jason starts, let's have a big hand for Joe. Tony is wandering as is his mom. Right. Thank you, Jason, very much.
Oh, thank you for being here.
Of course, for being all all that stuff, and everybody who's going to read tonight, and everybody who's come together. Thank you so much.
I'm so honored to be a part of this evening. It's a great treat for me. Sometimes when I play other places, like as I described earlier, I have to explain my songs, and so which is tough. But I know all of you know that the traditional chord music of Indonesia is called gamelan. Everyone knows that. Gamelan, when I lived in Chicago for a while, there's these gamelan is kind of the name of the genre and the name of the kind of like orchestra, I guess you'd say. And so I got to know some people that were it's beautiful music. It's Indonesian and it has lots of things that I would call, from my Western centric kind of space, percussion instruments and cymbals and finger cymbals and things like this. Beautiful, beautiful sound, ethereal. And then, but like so many things that happen in the world, there was always some drama about the gamelan and the relationships therein. So I found it so moving, I thought I would write a blues song called Gamelan Boyfriend. Tell your gamelan boyfriend I have seen him around. Tell your gamelan boyfriend he's got a real cool sound. He wears jammies, terror show, custom made in Borneo. I saw gamelan boyfriend with a little bit of gone for you. I said, gamelan boyfriend, she can never belong to you. Funny little job I had, never love a man like that, because I know you better, baby, I know you better, baby, I know you better, baby, I do. Tell your gamelan boyfriend I like the way you wear his ring. Tell your gamelan boyfriend your affection don't mean a thing. But I don't like howling wolf, you don't like guitar slim. I know, pretty baby, never loved a man like him, because I know you better, baby, I know you better, baby, I know you better, baby, I know.
So tonight is a program in celebration of Jenny Kander, wonderful poet that I think most of you in this room know. And She's known to many as the Poetry Lady, a title she said she adores. She came to Bloomington in 1992 from South Africa to live near her daughter, Tamar Kander of Kander. When she moved here, she promised herself poetry classes, something she'd never had the time for when she worked as a grief counselor. But she did much more. She went to the community radio station WFHB with an idea for a daily dose of poetry, the linen of words, and for years, Bloomington heard her voice or her guest voices twice a day. She also hosted the Poets Weave on WFIU from 2006 to 2009. Jenny's poetry has appeared in Flying Island, California Quarterly, Bathtub, Gin, Wind, Southern Indiana Review, and Shiver. She's published 2 chapbooks, Taboo, which is for sale outside, and The Altering Air from Pudding House Press. In 2002, Kander edited the Linen Weave of Bloomington Poets, featuring 50 Bloomington poets from the town and the university, many of whom had appeared on her radio show over the years. The book, she says, was the way of saying thank you to Bloomington for surrounding her with poetry. In 2003, she compiled and edited Celebrating 70, another collection of local poets, this time to mark her 70th birthday. Both books were published under Wind Magazine, is the name of the place. With Charles Greer, she edited 2 more anthologies, Say This of Horses, a selection of poems, University of Iowa Press, and the collection And Know This Place, Poetry of Indiana. The latter features the work of 116 poets who live or have lived in the state long enough to acquire a sense of the place. The book is the first collection of Indiana poetry to appear for more than 100 years. She also began a journal writing group that still meets regularly and has been in existence for 30 years. Please join me in welcoming Jenny Kander. I think I'm going to need help with this microphone. Do you want to make yes. Do you want to sit? Would you want to sit down?
I'll try it.
Okay.
Okay. Ooh. Sorry, Roger. You get old and shows.
He's asking me to bring out the book when it's time. She must be running very sweatshirt. Yes, she did.
I'm liable to go on too long. So, I'll have to get all the way. Excuse me. Okay. Small bowl for Jane. Jess, the cat, taking a short cut in a busybody hurry down here in my workroom some hours ago, knocked your bulb-shaped bowl off the table against the cupboard, and it shattered. You remember the one I keep pencils in, the little rough one, very dear. I've spent the last half hour with glue and the many fragments, putting them together touched by how obedient, even cooperative, these shards have been. It is a wonder their willingness to be vessel again. The clay has accepted the glue, and the sections have clung together in a way that set me thinking of your hands, moulding the form, your sensitiveness, and the spirit with which you imbued us, partnering this second pair of hands. Fragments that shattered into discards have left some gaps, but I have our bowl. It sits before me on the glass top table, imperfect imperfection. The two new mouths that pattern one side, saying recovery, reintegration. Opportunity. The girl with blue hair and the sequin eyes. The one with a dragonfly starting from her mouth. Each a wish she will grant you. Do not dismiss her. She may not come again. In the eye of the beholder, a gift this wonderscape's wife, on bushes snow blossoms, lawns and early morning sidewalks are barely trodden. Pristine vines are born in stillness on naked branches, and beneath them, just here and there, the grasses strand through. In the doctor's waiting room, while her husband waits for the nurse, a bundled woman settles herself, and after a brief pause, observes, "It's nasty out." Another pause, then, "It's gonna get worse." I have no answer. She summarizes, "I should have stayed home." Oh, okay, am I not being heard at all?
No, you're definitely being heard. We're just getting some signals in the very back. But right here, everyone's.
Thank you. Migration. It was as if a cloth embroidered with 1,000 starlings had been shaken out of a high window, and the birds had winged free to crowd the winter trees in unstitched confusion. The air a wild chittering, flocks swooping this way and there against a pale backdrop of frayed sky. This probably wouldn't be considered a poem, but it's a bit of fun, so I thought I'd read it. Little Jack and his Muse, a cautionary tale. Little Jack Horner sits on a tuffet, holding not curds or whey, but his hot crusty pie, and waiting for you to be muffled, aka the muse, to come his way. And here she is, all frilly and lacy, high-heeled and fancy, and crying out loud, "Oh, first things first, if you please, my Jack. I'd truly like to sample that." So Jackie Horner, pleased and so proud, stuck in his thumb, but way before he can pull out a plum, a prickly black spider, sweating and angry, appears with 8 hairy legs, all a-dangling, scaring the sandals, high heels and all, off the muse, leaving barefoot and screaming, "Visits no more." Poor little Jack, his hair all a sweat wet, just stares at her back as she runs off pell-mell. He picks up his tuffet and, raising it high, wham! That spider is napped on the floor. So be well advised, ardent news lovers all, to prepare for her visits in time. For should you heave a tuffet that lethally falls, all you'll be left with is plum spider jam. What am I for time?
You're fine. You're fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Here we go. The headboard of my childhood bed was granite. In early October, her appendix ruptured, and blue-skied Elizabeth left us desolate. Centuries ago in Europe, strewn below deathbed windows, straw-dulled carriage wheels clatter over cobblestones. Our days were hushed. Our father a sepulchre, if anyone mentioned the fate of twins, and mother wore misery. Sunday aunts and uncles, lids lowered, whispered over sandwiches and tea, while I played alone, turning dolls with open eyes, face down. Emigration from South Africa to the USA. 1. In slow motion arc, a dolphin leaps our life change to plunge into the near future, while in a small rowboat afloat the present, we watch and plan. 2. Fasten to our chosen future, like a loop over button, the present secures the garment at one point only, the throat, singing. wind. A restless wind is shaking in the trees outside my window, and in a jungle too, and on Bali High. Gulls feeding might get in the way of its sweep down Atlantic shores. What is it like to be the wind? Slide and easy, acrobatic, a whirl of darkness. Here it's spring, and the air tangles in branches so leafy it must rip some down for wind space. Sometimes I believe it calls bird songs louder, and here's some fun, blowing, surging, tearing a path through vines, tossing aside and thrusting until there's space to whistle up and down the wind scale, like a piccolo, a flute, giving an oboe depth until it dies down moaning. Yet white sails harness the wind, display its fling as it propels them across miles of length of bay. Then summer's heat. We can recall the Laos torpor that creeps over us as the wind stills and we drowse off over our picnic. The air becomes too weighty even to breathe. A robust summer haste sends leaves whirling again. People chasing their work-to-wear hats as the wind draws eddies in for the fun of it. Changes direction, and now it brings rain. Oh, fresher sport. With winter on its way, and winds gathering strength, slapping umbrellas inside out, everyone hanging on, pulled along by swift air's pranks, and winds until it swoops away highest roofs, dashes through windows, billowing curtains on its way. Wind is its own democracy. And my last,
Yeah, one more, time for one more.
one more.
And a bit louder,
Louder. Still louder. Woo! Oh. It's the microphone's fault, not mine. Bridge the difference. Step outside tonight and let the soft dark enfold you. Breathe it in. Breathe in it. Stand where you can reach the closest stars and know that in time the further ones will be yours to cup as well. Romance the moon and grace their light. Allowing her and grace her light. Allowing her to become your pearl lantern, soft glow, your wishes, desires out of the shadows. They're a gleam in focus. Follow the path into the woods and pause to listen. 100 voices speak to you, clamor for recognition, response. What are you to do? Let the wind lead you. Don't be swayed, but fluid, flowing, identifying with the leaves and dancing an acolyte, obedient to stay. Are there perhaps apples on the bough? Become one, just for now. What does your body need to do? First experience the fruit, its firm rotundity, skin gloss, and juices held within. Will your breathing help you bridge the distance between yourselves? Become full, slow, still. Exude the scent of apples amid silence. The umbilical stalk can fall. Its time is past. As from any meditation, trace your way back to the familiar, to who you recognize you are. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
So we have another. This is going to be the mic night. So can we have another round of applause for Jenny? Very near and dear to my heart, because when my husband was dying of cancer, he could no longer read, which was very hard for him. And a week before he died, Jenny and Eric Rensberger came to my house and did a poetry reading. And it was a big party. People were there. People brought food. It was amazing. And I'm forever grateful. So we're going to follow Jenny's wonderful reading with a lightning round of people. So the way this will work, hopefully everybody has a program, or if not, you can get one soon. And the reason we have them is that I'm not going, because these are lightning rounds, we're not going to introduce each poet properly before they read, we're just going to read their names. The bios are in here, and so you can keep track of the people you know and get in touch with them later. So first up, we have Margaret Fisher Squires, and then
I have to rest up there.
yeah, thank you.
That's what I was doing.
And you did it beautifully, Shauna.
Yeah, it's really hard to be subtle.
So, do you want to come sit on the chair?
Try that.
Okay. Maybe you do need another arm?
I know. There we go. Okay. All right. You're up. I'm up. Person activity is Dory.
Well, as you see, the combination of Parkinson's and impending hip surgery is not very mobile, but I'm very glad to be here. And I'm very grateful to Jenny because when I first started writing poetry, I was dabbling, and then she invited me to read it to her radio program. I felt like a real poet then. So I think she blessed me with making me a real poet. Speaking of real poets, my first poem is about the 5 women poets in response to a reading even before I joined the group in 2008. The 5 women poets wove a shawl of words. They embroidered it with cats and birds and flowers bluer than the sky, picked out in the tiniest, smoothest, most perfect stitches. The weft of their weaving glowed with many colors, seasons, loved ones, laughter. The warp was death, set to the loom with strong, practical knots. A shawl with lighter warp would not keep me so warm when winter comes. The next poem actually won a small contest and was printed in Fairy Tale magazine. And Very Little Stone. They built the palace together. They used dreams and glass and very little stone. She did not notice the lack, distracted as she was by the motes of glamour that sparked the air around her prince. Perhaps she is not to be blamed. Perhaps he is not to be blamed either. The fair folk cannot help what they are. The elf lord quite enjoyed the playful labor. The woman's flights of fancy matched his own, as 2 other mortals had. Her dreams served for timbering and floors, fine-grained and richly hued, like mahogany or teak. The pair were dazzled by their reflections in the ballroom's mirrors. "We'll give a ball," he declared. She answered him, "Yes." And he conjured fragile chairs of gilded wood, rich brocade draperies, candles of fragrant beeswax. The dainty cakes were real with currants in them. He stole them by magic from the bakery in the nearest town. It did not seem to matter that the palace had no kitchen. Candle flames lit the ballroom and burned again in gilded mirrors and guests' jewels in his mortal lover's eyes. Dancing with her was a joy at first. The time came when her every kiss, her every hand brush, felt like the peck of a small, hungry bird. Her eyes, bright with hope, drained him. Besides, the party seemed to last almost a whole night or almost a whole year. Despite long interludes with mortals, he still tended to confuse the two. He knew or believed in his fine ivory bones that if he stayed a whole night or a whole year in one place, time would enspell him, stiffen his flesh until he was trapped in panicked immobility, and Elflord shaped entirely of something like mahogany or teak. Her chatter carved a numb hollow in his chest. He felt approaching dawn. He left her while the dance swirled all around them, slipping away through one of the tall glass doors into the darkness. He left her dancing with his reflection. Outside, he paused and glanced back through the glass at the bright-eyed, comely woman circling alone in her graceful dance. He heard a distant fiddle swinging into melody over the hill. He felt the music fill his chest with fire. His heels barely touched the earth as he crossed the hill, but he remembered the woman for almost as many years or hours as it took for the palace's timbers to collapse into dust. This was a bit seasonal. Snapdragon Winters. Snapdragons enjoy their summers rooted in garden beds, clustered around family mailboxes, drinking in rain and sun, amusing the children with a mild floral snap of dragon jaws. But as autumn approaches, they tire of rootedness. They choose a night when the moon drowses behind blanketing overcast, or a chill gray day when no one snug indoors even wants to glance toward the windows. Unseen by human eyes, the snapdragons sprout lashing tails and clawed feet and wings like any other proper dragon, and they leap into the air. It is not just yearning for adventure that makes them take to the sky. They have gifts to bestow in the colorless season, on days when the dull dun of grass and leaves and twigs makes the robin's gray wings seem almost tropically flamboyant. Some of the snapdragons spit sparks to make frost glitter like with rainbow fire. Some venture far to fly up and down among the shifting curtains of the aurora borealis, joining their glimmer with the northern lights. But most of them fly westward, blend in their yellows and oranges, reds and golds, with winter's early sunsets shining through leafless tree branches to remind us of warmth. This poem I call Doing My Share. The earth is parching, forests are burning, storms rage, floods surge. The ocean is turning into acid, dissolving the shells of the tiny creatures that create our oxygen. So this morning, I dressed in the natural light from the bathroom window. When I was done, I turned the thermostat down 2 degrees for its nighttime cool setting. Tomorrow, I'll turn the thermostat down before getting dressed. That'll take care of it, right? And the last poem I'm going to read today is called Possibilities. Even old trees with thick trunks and dull bark in spring put on tiny bright yellow-green leaves with the excitement of middle school girls trying on clothes. Thank you.
Next up is Dorian Boone.
Thank you all for coming out today. Thank you, Jenny. I'm one of the people that have been in 2 groups. Oh, sorry, not ready. Okay. I've been in 2 groups with Jenny over the years. One with Roger and Thomas and Charles Greer for poetry, and another one for journal writing, which was not really journal writing, but just writing. Usually, you could write poems, but usually it's prose. And I've learned a lot from Jenny, and I love sharing poetry with Jenny and with the community, as Jenny has taught us. I was lucky enough this year to get a book published. It's called Swimming to Alaska. I lived in Alaska for 7 years in my 20s and 30s. And the first poem is called Night Visitor. And this was set in Juneau. And I think it's true. I'm a pretty vivid dreamer, but once in Alaska, I slept in a forest on a mountaintop on a night with no moon. During the night, a bear came down and sniffed at my face. Part of me thought, this is a nightmare. Another part rejoiced. Isn't it grand to be finally wholly animal? Another part of me held my breath as though my breath were the one pulse a bear might recognize in the hemlock forest. Inside my sleeping bag, I pulled my breast toward my spine. My baby still nursed, and I hoped that the bear would not maul me with a taste of my milk. Yet, when that burly wall of night leaned over my face, I understood how the grass feels when rain starts to fall. Unprotected, vulnerable, yet eagerly seeking the wet brush of life. And, oops, I lost my thing. For a school year, we were in an Arctic village, Kivalina, and things got pretty rough in the winter for people. They lived mostly hunter and gathering, so winter was really hard. So this is called ice fishing on Thanksgiving Eve, and it's a haibun, which is mostly prose with a haiku. On frozen snow's rippled pallet, a circle of a Nupiaq woman stoop, then sit cross-legged on the ice. Recently arrived from the lower 48, I know nothing of winter's immense want. As our jigging unlocks Tom Cobb from the frozen lagoon, the woman sings century-old songs. Under the ice, hungry fish dart after silver lures. With an awe, a high school girl stabs open the holes whenever their wide eyes freeze again. I wonder how quickly before the sea ice will fail, whales hunger, fish stocks decline. For now, an incoming tide rushes the fish through a channel that connects the Chukchi to the lagoon. Under a wan sun, we smack each cod onto the ice, where it flash freezes before the great heating that will kill us all. The sharp stab of capture, hook, throat, eye. There's a lot more about Alaska, but I'm going to jump to one that my daughter chose for her PhD dissertation. And when I read it, you'll wonder why. But this one is set in Taos, New Mexico, and it's called Taos Sky. How do I describe this vault of longing? Sky that makes me want to lie in the scrubby field all day and simply observe. Can a human pay such devoted attention? For distraction, raspy cottonwood leaves, sway of camisa, a magpie's gossipy chatter. Adding to the sounds, the long-haired builder pounds his incessant hammer. The ponderosa pine calls to me with its needles that patch feathery triangles across a corner of sky. What more can I want than this cerulean heaven, only for blue to endure, to grow deeper until minuscule eyes erupt and weep silver. And I'm going to read the one that the publisher, which sold them on the book, and it's called Bird Languages. Before we could speak, we understood them. They spoke in riddles, promising that oak and sycamore would become ladders to sky, and our tongues' lost leaves would attach to mother cottonwood again. While our parents slept in their royal beds, robins and jays taught us to sing by whistling, to praise by chortling, skies blue and gasp of cloud. From birch and walnut, they summoned wind until it soared through our bodies, poured out of our mouths. We knew every bird language then: oriole, thrush, magpie, cluck of domesticated chicken, even the hoo 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 of its distant cousin, the great horned owl. We lay in our cribs, listening, practicing. Ever since we have yearned for riddled bark, for stalks spring, for vibrating grass and stem, for morning's fluency of song. And one final one. This is another haibun. In the wee hours, between midnight and dawn, my body practices leaving, using sheets for sails and the bed frame for a prow. My body rehearses its last goodbye. Stars and moon lose their sway, locked doors no longer contain me, and our bedroom windows become as porous as air. every quarter hour, the cuckoo escapes again. Thank you. Tony Matthews is next.
Okay, thank you. Since Jenny and I are both immigrants, I chose to use a prose to read about part of my experience of becoming an immigrant. Immigration process. I don't know what to do with you, young lady, the State Department representative from Chicago says, sitting back hard in his chair. He's been asking me a variety of questions, and his Chicago accent makes it difficult for me to follow him. But this comes across very clearly. The third time he runs his thick fingers through his greasy black hair, shaking his head. He's already loosened his blue tie with small white shields dotted on it, and pushed up the neatly folded sleeves of his pale blue shirt, rumpling him. Now he leans forward. I warn you, the judge is going to ream you out. He rubs his right hand over his chin. I can hear the rasp of his beard stubble and notice the two nicotine-stained fingers, thinking he must really want to smoke. He says for the fourth time, "You're sure you can't say yes to bearing arms for the nation?" I'd come up to Indianapolis supported by two friends for the last stage before becoming a U.S. citizen. If I pass this interview, I'll return to Indianapolis at the next quarter sessions and be sworn in with other hopeful immigrants as a citizen of the United States of America. We both know that this bare arms question is quite irrelevant, since at this time women are not allowed in combat. To his question, I answer, no, I can't. But you, he says, you told me you don't belong to a faith group that believes in pacifism. So tell me again why. I am not willing to tell him that my father died fighting in World War II and how this loss has affected my life. So I say, I don't believe that war settles anything, and I'm not going to agree to kill another person. He slaps his hands down on the table and gets up suddenly, looming over me. I'm going to talk to those friends of yours waiting outside. Give you time to think some more. And he goes out, slamming the door on me. He's gone for a while, and I don't know if this is good or bad. Then the door is flung open and he comes in, slamming it again, and throws himself into his chair. Okay, he says, your friends say you're not fooling. I'll accept your application and pass it on. But I warn you, the judge is going to question you closely. He pulls out a paper from the folder on the desk. Now read this, sign and date it. I do and push the paper back to him. Good thing you're the last of my day, he says, signs the paper and puts it in the folder. We both get up and shake hands. He opens the door, and as it shuts behind me, I imagine him already fumbling for a cigarette. My friends stand up, rolling their eyes. Carol says, come on, we've got to get home before the babysitters start charging overtime.
We all do.
All right, can you hear me? Was that too much? Too much? I could probably do it without the mic. Okay, glad to be here. My wife Nancy and I are glad to be here for Jenny tonight. We've known Jenny like a lot of people in here for quite a few years. I too was in the poetry group with Jenny, and at one time there were about 12, 15 people in it. So I'm going to read two poems tonight. The first poem is what I call a chicken poem, and it's actually one of three I've written recently, thanks to some young neighbors who moved in next to us a few years ago. And they are not only raising chickens, but they also are incredible gardeners. But this focus, as I just said, is on chickens, and it's called Performance. Some have the gift of whisperer, dog, or voice, even octopus whisperer Wilson Menashe. But one morning, we discovered that our young neighbor Casey, wife of Zach, has the gift of chicken whisper. Coop door open, they merge, hesitant at first, until her three-note beckoning quickens their step, that familiar chicken walk. Heads bobbing to catch up with their bodies as they stabilize their gaze for expected prey. Casey leading her leaders to the backyard spot of the day for grasshoppers, ticks, beetles, slugs, and spiders, where they begin to feed, it seems, with an understood silence among themselves, so unlike the strident news of their egg songs. Later, leading them back, she whistles in concert with gentle slaps of her hip until, with a winged hop, they're cooped again. They're cooped again, bellies sated with creatures soft and crunchy, conveyed to a rich wetness of enzymic saliva, a performance worth catching on one of the slow pleasure days of our deck. And this is it's a love poem of sorts. It's called It Matters Still. It matters still, the married weight of our sleep, trusting the night will prevail and see us to the morning table of napkin, silverware, plate, or bowl. And just outside the window, the usual flurry at the bird feeder, singing a medley of thank yous, their hunger, our entertainment. Later, poems for me, the elusive words, though a playful few arrange and rearrange, dancing a tease of a line. A book for you, or the lure of the garden when the season allows. And always a nap to shorten the afternoon, hopefully not to be undone like 2 days ago. The dual mufflers that had us up, the truck, a scabby peel of paint and rust, flying not one, but two Confederate flags. Though what followed was the blink of a bird's wing, chimes in the maple, balm for the bruised air. Some days a blend of errands and walks, appointments, any one of which could darken the moment or lighten our steps. Both of us 40s born. A couple of Kilroy babies still traveling the guests of allotted hours. The day timing down to the gift of again, when all things have repose. And if we're lucky, the owl's voice deep in the woods across the road, inviting another to share his night.
Okay, so a round of applause for our poet. So I need everybody who read during this first round to come up to the front, and I need Tony Brewer to make himself known.
Great.
And so this is going to be like a 20-minute break. They'll give you a chance to look at the things out for auction in the silent auction, grab some food, grab some wine, talk to your friends, and then we'll come back for a second round of poets. We also have a sign-up sheet for open mic if anybody's interested in doing the open mic at the end of the evening. So, so poets come up here, and otherwise mingle, eat, listen to some good music.
Sorry, Jacob, you need to scratch your I know. You get some more? Yeah, not bad. Well, yeah, because I know. Oh, yeah, I know. I know. Oh, okay, that's all right.
Thank you.
I noticed one of her books.
You know, I'm gonna have to move.
I think
Hi Molly, how are you? Good, good, it's good to see you. I am torn. I got a really cold January, February, and so I want to, but I'm just not sure if I can do it. You gotta go? Well, I might still figure it out. So we'll see. I'd love to. I mean, it's like my favorite thing. But we'll see. It's gonna be a crazy few weeks, so see if I can make it. I hope so too. It's good to see you, Molly.
In a bit.
I'm gonna go ahead.
You go ahead.
That's me too.
Look to the right.
I'm doing well. Good to see you. Good to hear your reading. I did not know that I'm this acceptable before my Yeah, I went through round one of that a few weeks ago, and I was supposed to have it done here, but I had yeah, that's probably what they do. Yeah, she didn't. I see that. Yeah, they. I was gonna say, it looked like somebody took a bite out of it. Yeah, I say, just because we're all on, we talk about medical stuff. But, I guess, yeah, it was last Sunday. And then I was trying to back, and it's just before I got home, in the car. And I was coming, anyways, well, I'm down here, because I want So that night, mom was like an emergency, screaming like an idiot. Yeah. Yeah, I had a couple of friends who had it. I didn't ever want to do it. They said they showed me the extra. And it was like teeny tiny, but it just gets in the right place and it rocks you up and it gets angry and it does things. But yeah. Well, that was the kind of one scary thing when you scan to make sure it has. They said, oh, there's something still sitting in his hand, but it doesn't look. No, it's not at all. Yeah. Well, the thing is,
You were fabulous. I said, you were fabulous.
we all love
Very good.
Had a good time. Very much good.
Oh, yeah. Jenny, it's a real pleasure to take your part in this. This is a really great summer. Oh, yeah. Exactly. You never know what the weather's going to be.
You never know what the weather's going to be. Where the children are going to grow, or the government's going to arrive. We're going to get one of these trucks.
Yeah.
And we're quickly moving.
Most people are still in a moment. Standing for a long
James, I love you.
Oh my God, how are you?
I know I saw my poetry on the radio.
I was just thinking, I know that. I didn't realize you were actually. Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah?
Well, talking.
Well, okay, so this, it's the general name of it is a resonator. It does have a metal body that resonates. So then, they started to do the structure of jazz. Yeah, so it's a resonator guitar, and then national. And then and then my friend in Colorado, he makes this variation called Rocker, because it has this.
We should do one more day.
We're going away. It's easier for my siblings to get there. That makes my dad have to get together. But it only takes like 6 hours. So that's just easier for them. So that's why they do it, because they don't get out of school until 22nd. Yeah, we'll go to Manhattan today, which is upstate New York. And then they'll drive. Yes, I'm going to do that. Probably January 6th, because my birthday's on the 4th. I know it's like a Wednesday or something. So I don't think I can do it on a work day. So, yeah, probably do that Saturday. So it'll be the usual suspense. I'll have to think I'll send you
Okay. Hey, we're going to start it real soon, but before we do, we're going to play a song by the great poet Chuck Berry. on the park. Here we go. As I was motivated back towards town, I see a Cadillac sign. Said no money down. So I ease on my brakes, pull up there and drive. I gunned up my motor, and I walked on the side. The dealer came down. He said, trade your Ford. I can put you in a car that will eat up the road. Just tell me what you want, and inside this line, I just brought right down your house. And now it's time, I'm gonna get you a call. I'm gonna head on down the road. I won't worry no more, baby. I'm down right. This time on the yellow convertible, 4-door DeVille. I want a cocktail spare, some wire chrome wheels. I want power steering and a power brake and a powerful motor with a jet off tape. I want nice cool air conditioning, some nice warm heat. Big old belly to cool. In the back is very work. I'm on Shiver showing color tea in the phone. Cause I can talk to my baby. When I ride alone, I wanna get in the car. I'm gonna head on down to the I'm gonna burn that one, baby. I want 4 carburetors, 2 straight exhausts. I want a nuclear reactor. I don't care what it's called. I want a railroad air horn. Socket double spot. 15-year guarantee on everything I got. I want 2,000 ducats and a $20 bill. I'm a $10,000 liability. That's how she wrote out on the car. I'm gonna head on down the road. I won't worry no more, baby. About that old broke down raggedy. All right.
So please, everybody, come on back in. We're going to end the silent auction at 8:30. And just a reminder, I put out the information earlier today that we were hoping to sell the Rain Tree books as an entire lot because they're collectible. But if anybody's interested in putting in a bid on a single chapbook, please come talk to me or Tony. But for the entire lot of 16 books, we're asking you to start bidding at $150. I know that sounds like a lot, but single titles from that series are being listed on 8 books for $80. So this is a deal. And if we don't sell them, then I don't know, I guess they'll go to the Lily, which is fine, but they'll be stuck away in a vault someplace and nobody will really be able to appreciate them. So, says Mom. So for our second lightning round, Eric Rensberger, could you start?
Hi there. This book got mentioned in some of the introduction about Jenny. This is one of the anthologies she did. I'm going to read from my section in this particular anthology tonight. It's a beautiful job, and I'd forgotten this until I picked it out to prepare for the reading tonight. But instead of author photos, she asked us each to draw a sketch of ourselves, and it's pretty wacky. I'm looking at mine right now, and I'm thinking, oh, glad I never tried to be an artist. Okay, so this first one, you need to imagine a midsummer evening on the kind of near west side of Bloomington, near downtown. Sun's going down. One motion. Swifts of the city come and go in one motion. An architect of shadows in her torn clothes is building the night sky while Bela falls to pieces. Swifts whirl above a chimney's mouth and drop in order down, as if smoke returned with feathers to nests, not fire. My spirit is in my mouth where it has been before, where it has been carried is what I must be able to say. And I find more is true than not true, and only what can be broken was ever whole. This next one I think of as one of those eternally valid themes at every moment of history. Lament. Is now the time to praise things that need praising or to put right what has been misused? The rain might be long, but it exhausts itself. The people of one land seek another. What strong hands put up, an evil wind wrecks easily. Within an hour, the well-founded house falls. Emptiness swallows the beautiful faces. Rings drop from shrunken joints, the bronze bells no longer sound, and we are left to praise things that need praising. This one's called Winter Genesis 1. Mornings on this stone seat, watching light come on over my neighbor's golden fields and into my field of trees. Stark, light, durable trees, or at night with the full moon there in the top branches and my young dog underneath, snuffling through the layered leaves, old, dark, tracing scent. How many, I think, are watching with me now? Moon's luminous pan, suns advance, golden fields or not, trees or dog, or not, how many sit with me and where and watch light rise. This next one, I take great pleasure in reading because Jenny, you probably don't remember this, but the first time I read it in public, you were there and it made you laugh. So, and just a little caution to audience members, don't try to make coherent sense of this as I read it because you'll probably hurt yourself doing that. Just enjoy the words. The year of my absence. A number of stones under my feet had faces. The skin of my palms was made of glass. Hermits kept crawling out of their caves, holding out their hands for Oreos. This is not what I intended to say, however, I must stand by it. And what of the tall bellflower standing in the garden of speech? And what of Joe Pye's cure for yellow fever? I must endure the indignity of what's said, and with even a dog's luck, I could hang on a little or a lot longer, though it disturbs me that I wake myself screaming, "What's my deductible?" That was the same laugh. And the last one I'm going to read is, the title is a date given in numerals, 8301. When I go inside, there is a hummingbird trapped between two panes of glass of the slid open window overlooking the raspberry patch. Little guy, you are trouble to save without harm. It takes a fly swatter handle to probe you loose. Stunned or cunning, you are still in my palm till we are safely outdoors when, in the space of a breath, you are in the treetops and moving fast away. Who knows if you will ever get up the nerve to return to the easy living of the feeder. Maybe you will keep flying forever, so afraid it gives you a strength nectar never had. Thank you very much. Next up is Shiver.
I probably don't need a mic, but I'll use it. I've known Jenny for a very, very long time. We've written together, we've made collages together, we've laughed together, and we've spoken very seriously together. The first poem I want to read is from Jenny's book, Celebrating 70. I turned 70 this year. How the hell did that happen? For Jenny on her 70th birthday. How many years in an era, an epoch, an age, do decades fuse as if blown glass, separate like silken strands, or turn to stepping stones counted one by one across the gardens? We punctuate our lives with hours and numbers. Still, there is no way to measure the shifting nuance of light. Time is anything but fleeting. I carry each moment in open hands, never understand how years get lost like packages or letters, pages folded into weightless swans. The scrawl of our days lifts away. Grace's long breath descends, draping us like a shawl. Pandemic poem. Because I can't be by the sea, I seek silence in the lining of my coat, beneath a blanket made of silk, amidst the thinnest slice of air pressed between two panes of glass. The sea rises in me, the ever-changing line of time, that distant horizon where sky meets water and blue becomes blue, becomes blue. Oh, I miss the salt on my lips, the variance of waves, the shift of currents. Here in this place, so beautiful and dear to me, all treed and green, creeked and ravined, I remain locked. Far from the sweep of coast, distant from that other vast expanse, night is full of yearning. The whippoorwill chants lonely, the owl's laments, its slanted barn gone now, the long echo of missing. Before, in that time that used to be, I traveled along hemispheres and across continents, but now I wonder if I'll ever wade in ocean again. How deep the missing of something that cannot be held. The waves cresting the scent of salt, rough. Here there is only breath, breath after breath, until the yearning songs are drained pale and rest on the bone above my heart, rise and fall along the lines of my skin. I choose what to let in. Outside my windows, the sun rises above the trees. The breeze rocks the leaves in the highest branches. A kind of hush must be enough for now. I'm so weary of reaching for what is just too far away. Branches. We think of lines as straight, but they aren't. Not lines, not the minutes of any hour, not our paths. Always the turn in the road, a swerve around a fallen limb, a wire that's come down from a northwest wind. Equations appear to lie straight across the page as if calculation could lead to an answer, a simple right or wrong. But there are always more questions. The Great Dipper's handle, the curve of the earth, the rib cage, my heart. Redemption. In our cupped hands, the broken things, bone, china, cup, cobalt, blue, bowl. We lay the pieces on the oak cutting board with sandpaper and glue. We imagine them whole again. Threadbare towels are pulled apart for polishing the dulled copper, the tarnished cutlery, stretched out sweaters, stained shirts, torn kneed pants stuffed into bags, carted to Goodwill. Someday, I may buy an oval braided rug for the patch of floor at the foot of the bed. Afternoon sun will reveal an old piece of sleeve that once held your arm the way you once held me. And I'll end with this short piece, and I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, and what an honor it is to read with you and for you, Jenny. The tides of my heart are held by rippling shoals, shallow, sharp, they block the passage. Water rises in the rain-soaked earth. I am held, a tree bent toward life. In the cold, I am drawn to fire. In the heat, pulled toward ice. Here, in this landlocked place, the spring-fed pond draws me into its depths. At night, I leave the windows open wide. Let what will enter, enter. Let what will fly away, rise. Thank you. And I'd like to call on your voice up to the front of the multi-talented welders.
Again, thank you all for coming, and thank you especially to Jenny, because when I first came here as a very junior faculty member in the anthropology department, I was trained out of doing meetings that was not within that little framework. And you gave me the permission to reach out and let the stars hold me. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to read a couple of poems about Ireland. I've been spending a lot of time there, mostly taking photographs. So these are some of the things that I have seen in this wonderful country. Ireland of rock and water. A small island rich in rock, midlands scraped down to bedrock by glaciers, once thick forests gone, oak forests cut and transformed to bogs, a milder, manageable landscape. But the coasts, stone slabs up-tilted, huge chunks scattered as if flung there by Cuchulainn himself. There where peat beds, stone, and saltgrass make a crazy quilt of ragged rectangles marked off by penny fences of stone. Famine fences, the work of the dispossessed, first light to last, whole families dug stones from fields, stacked them one on top of the other, fences that marked off nothing from nothing. In the western hills, vertical green swords run down to the sea, fat-tailed sheep wander sure-footed up and down to the very edges of the water, clipping the wind-roughed grass sprouting out of the rock itself. Moss-mottled stones crowned with loose strife and red valerian, sea-scoured fat hearthstones, cottages tumbled down around them. A universe of living stones, these famine cottages, their renters driven by hunger across a perilous sea. Homes sink into the living landscape, into the peat and wild grasses, heavy limestone blocks returning to the land. In the Burren, the ancient karst that spans 3 counties, centuries have eroded its limestone foundation, creating ridges, towers, sinkholes, fissures, caves, and springs. Stone midwife into fantastical landscapes. In warm, soft days of spring, lilac, ivy leaf, toad flax, pinky white English stonecrop, pungent wild thyme, surprise with a riot of color and scent. A landscape of stone, towers, oratories, monasteries, fences, ring forts and castles, graveyards and churches, Ogham stones, stairways, high crosses, country cottages. Waters polish the cobblestones of the clear coast, turning them over and back in their tidal work, turning the rough into smooth gems. Big surf carving tunnels and caves from an ever-receding shore. Caves become tunnels, become bridges. Tunnels crash, become chasms, create little islands between cliffs and sea. Fog settles into cave tunnels, rises up the cliff slabs. The birds fall silent. Your face is slick with fog and surf. Lichen, brilliant orange against the wet rock. A splash of color in the fog-thick heights. Sight and sound disappear. Only sea smell and the salt damp on your skin. The second one is a part of my work in the Irish World Academy of Music and Dance, where I have a really wonderful job of working with talented dancers and spending a lot of time in Ireland. One of the things in the academy is this wonderful theater called the Tower Theater. The academy, by the way, sits on the Shannon. Tower Theater, a place of possibility, the blue, green, gold heart of the in-between. The Tower Theater, soaring 3 stories, wrapped in the arms of the goddess Shauna, herself risen from the Shannon. The in-between, where the strange and the known converse and each transforms the other. The tower, open to the sky and rooted in the river, offers sanctuary to the fearless, who shed the terrain of the familiar, to step into what might be. Walk, sing, dance, play, hear each other into possibilities, furnish the dreams of the in-between, then step outside the tower heart and fling them wide. And I thought, for the last one, I would read something in the wonderful Linen Weave of Poets, which Jenny put together for so many of us who have been afraid to say we were poets. Thank you for that, too. Hesitation waltz. Your hands rest on his, faces in profile, feeling each other side by side, waiting. One body, you turn into him and feel the heat of his hand clasping your waist. Your free hands find each other like nesting birds. You turn into him, his eyes promise everything. Your throat pounds, the music sounds far away. You turn into him, high on the balls of your feet, then up and down again like a carousel horse. Begin to turn, giddy like a whirligig. His hand anchors you, your feet touch, hug a tiny space, and fly. You turn, smiling, hesitate, foot lifted, love on hold, waiting for the next step.
Jenny gave me a cue this evening. So I'm clutching at my little totem. It makes me gleeful. It kind of looks like my cat. You imagine my cat look like this? It's exactly what my cat looks like. So it says in my bio, I was a recording engineer for Jenny, who she was doing Linen of Words at WFHB for about, and I was her engineer for about 3 years, one of her engineers. And so I met a lot of poets. I think I met some of the poets that read tonight and met them for the first time, listening to them on headphones, being very carefully listening, very carefully to make sure everybody did everything right. And I got to hear Jenny read all the time, reading other people's poems, sometimes hers, but I mostly got to hear her read other people's poems. And I got to hear her blow lines all the time. And damn. And just every once in a while, it would be worse. But it was a great education to learn how to read poems, really, as I was learning how to write poems. So this is called Curators of a Sort. They rescinded the order to wear gloves when handling rare books because they make them hard to hold. Hot and sweaty, the curators caress as filthy as skin, even behind cotton conserving patina like a monk. Washing your hands is just as good. Gloves, they determine, decrease the ability to feel and increase risk of rip or drop. We rely on the tactility and manual dexterity of bare hands to make us persevere, want to feel the fragile edges of each other and lift friable ink from pages with our own nervous oils. No false security barrier, not butler's hands, Mickey Mouse minstrel hands. Strip the plastic off grandma's couch and let's get nasty on the doilies someday. I'm joking now, but librarians do it in stacks. And once the gloves are off, we'll never wear them again. Around the time I was still engineering for you, I wrote this one around the time I was still engineering for you. This is called Hearts and Minds. Paul Maben and his family own a farm. He is the last one left alive to work. On day one, I tell him, if you can talk, you can read. He already has words, a warm wind of vowels and consonants with diagram and map, newspaper obit, tractor part, street sign, McDonald's menu. He can look up times and TV guide. I don't let him read his Bible here. He knows too much of it by heart. I tell him Italians use their hands to speak, but Americans use verbal shorthand. Entire conversations are held in it. He asks about Iraq and Afghanistan. I unfold a National Geographic map and we begin at Jerusalem in Israel. He knows about the Crusades, but is surprised by how large Africa looms in Saudi Arabia, and next to it, Egypt, right across the water from Rome and Germany. I tell him World War II lies on top of World War I, so some countries no longer exist. Russia, now attached to Mongolia, and China sans Hong Kong, both Koreas, both Vietnams. His finger traces place names he has heard on TV, a jigsaw around his tongue and slipping plate. I get him to practice reading at home. He watches too much Fox and not enough news, but I don't undo it when he passes me his Bible. I explain its map of hotspots too, Galilee and Bethlehem and Jerusalem again, where Christ was crucified near where Muhammad also ascended to heaven. Paul knows Muhammad, likes his story, and asks what I believe. I tell him I believe he needs to practice writing each letter 10 times, caps and lowercase, on gray paper with big dashed middle lines he ignores and writes where he wants. Sometimes Paul skips our Saturday sessions to sweep up and dump trash and polish at a Hardee's. 75 years old and filling his off hours with my tutelage, he preferred sweating on asphalt to sitting with me in the library back room. I showed him how the Pope took Byzantium, how democracy covers the desert like a sack. In that National Geographic with the map is the story of an Afghan woman, fresh blue ink on her index finger. She has only ever seen her small plot of earth, but her hard hands and eyes escape the fabric of her life. Americans come and go. Soviets came and went. The sun and moon and her family are all that matter, and one book some of them can read, others know it by heart. And then I'm going to close with this one. Based on a true story. This is called In Other News, A Peace Has Broken Off. I mishear on the radio toaster instead of ouster, and dream a tinker governing the land just as my book is putting me to sleep. In overalls, he fixes something once he's taken it apart and laid it out. A constellation on a blanket in the bed of a crew cab truck. Springs and cogs and wing nuts speak to him, purposeless unless part of a great exploded schematic. No one wants to be a part left over. Singular, non-moving parts that do not fit or are missing now. The toaster is toasting again. My old gray tome of Eskimo poems is a manual for how to catch fish, but one has to live like them to understand the many steps. I still want to know why everything finally fits inside a shell too tight for God. Only things that work go in there. A smaller screwdriver is required, but experience with tabs and slots is what repairs all appliances. I think the newsman meant alliances and stabs and plots and despair. The book falls off me to the floor. I lose my place. Thank you. I think last up is Tom Tokarski.
I'm so thankful to be here tonight to honor Jenny and all of the work that she has done for poets in this community is just excellent, and I really thank her for that. And this first poem I wrote as kind of a lighthearted incentive to find alternatives to the violence of wars. And it's called Biscuit Wars. What if bullets were biscuits shot from pastry guns? If landmines were unbaked dough that exploded into warm, moist biscuits? What if snipers hidden in trees and tall buildings threw down biscuits on the unsuspecting enemy? Wouldn't that be a blow for peace? Biscuit bombs would be such a surprise as they bounced off soldiers' helmets. Parents would sigh with relief. Their children were finally out of harm's way. Wouldn't it be a better, wet kind of world if medals for bravery were homemade biscuits of various shapes and colors spread with blueberry jam or wildflower honey? If giant statues of the biscuit were erected in plazas and public places around the world. Frequent outbreaks of steaming neighborly biscuits would be no cause for alarm. Biscuit generals would be welcomed with open arms instead of deadly arms. In place of guns and tanks, if we sent tons of ready-mix biscuits to needy countries and rebel groups, wouldn't hostilities be reduced? When some rogue dictator gets out of hand, nations of biscuit lovers everywhere would sit him down on over a homey meal of biscuits and gravy and explain in no uncertain terms, stop this nonsense, or you will eat nothing for the rest of your life but cold, freeze-dried, shrink-wrapped spam. That horrific thought would certainly compel him to repent. I believe biscuits could easily win the Nobel Prize for peaceable gastronomy. Biscuits slathered with butter or jam could become a symbol, a new paradigm, and the savior of us all. Women, men, and children of all races, creeds, and colors would finally be freed of lethal war. To settle our disputes, we would join together with open arms, laden with biscuit ingredients, and cook our way to peace. I have been in Jenny's poetry group for years, and her comments are always very helpful. And this poem is dedicated to Jenny. And sometimes, you know, it helps to have a bad poem to compare it to the good ones you've heard. So this is called The Perfect Bad Poem to Critique. Jenny does not lack candor. She does not pander to puny puns or purple verse. She will tell you they're perverse or worse, words that belong in a hearse. And the most lurid kind are those that rhyme without rhyme or reason, like these macaroni verses of limping meter and lame metaphor that will end up in a neglected drawer. Shamelessly, I offer these lame lines as the best example of the worst kind that Jenny can crit to her heart's content without fear of fomenting argument. Though I be the author, I will offer only my compliments of her descent, of this awful mongrel transmogrification of the fair art of prosy. Ah, spare me no more, I'm spent, I repent, have at it, Jenny. And my last poem is in honor of one of the life forms that help to sustain all life on earth, and it's called Merging. A huge oak tree, leafless in January, exposing massive trunk and thick spreading limbs that thin to the smallest twigs, to the finest tips that merge with the vastly blue sky. Beneath the tree is a scattering of small birds, weak winter voices in lean saplings. What is a tree but the roots of the sky and the fingers of the earth quietly holding the world together? And I'll close with a seasonal haiku. When the fist of night enfolds the low winter sun, we light a candle. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna have another little break, and Jason's gonna come play some music for us. There's a sign-up sheet for open mic here, if you haven't signed up yet. And we're getting ready to close out the silent auction. You still have like 10-15 minutes to go look at items. Each item is numbered, or each group of items is numbered. You find the sheet that is like in that constellation of numbers and just write your bid. And so high bid at the end of the evening gets to take home some swag. And Christmas is coming. So please, so get some more wine, get some more food, take a look at the items for sale, and sign up for open mic if you haven't done so already. Jason, come on. Thank you. And I should say once again, a big hand for all of our people.
This song is called Cloud County, and it's a county in somewhat northeast Kansas that my ancestors lived in. Every time I think about the word county, I was once asked to do some voiceover work. Is that the word? Yeah, voiceover, yeah. Okay. And it was for some agency which no longer exists in our county here. And it turns out every single instance of the word M-O-N-R-O-E, I mispronounced. Because I was pronouncing it Monroe? No.
Yeah.
Monroe?
Thank you, Monroe. Monroe County, right. And I think collectively, James Monroe, one of our great founding fathers, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know how he pronounced it. I don't, the audio is, recording wasn't so good in his day, was he?
Yeah, low-fi.
It was low-fi, okay. Here's Cloud County. Smoky Mountain lovers record each other, singing their true love, and it echoes through the hills into dark hollows, high to the mountains. But out here in Cloud County, this hot Kansas wind drives every song on my tongue. So I'll take down my pen, write down my love, drop it in the afternoon bed, to watch the freight train take it by the way. So the Smoky Mountains know how the air smells, hearts of recording all around. But here the only ones to see are the postman and me, and the conductor on the train. 'Cause out here in Cloud County, this hot Kansas wind drives every song on my tongue. So I'll take down my pen, I'll write down my love, drop it in the afternoon, watch the freight train take it by. I think it's gonna be open mic time. Okay. Eric and I Eric's gonna play harmonica. He's gonna do open mic. I guess so, right. Sorry, I've got big signal here in the back of the room. Yes. All right. What's that? It's gonna be a little skinny.
One for each hand, right? Is that one for each finger?
We've had question and answers later, actually. Sorry. The question was, why more than one harmonica, Eric?
Because there's more than one key to make music in. And this kind of harp is, it's called a diatonic, so it's just each one is made in a separate key. However, we're playing it.
You have a blowout somehow?
I do, I have backup in there, so. And the other thing I want to say is, we're playing in G, but for this style of music, I play it on the C harp. So that is just a confusing.
That's just like math. Poetry, like not math.
How long?
Hey, babe, aren't you lucky? When you're laughing and smiling, you're not happening. When you go downtown in the Cadillac, so hard to drive with that monkey on your back. Hey, baby, aren't you lucky? When you're laughing and smiling, you're not happening. All you ever wanted was a brand new man. Now you got one that you can't even stand. So hey, baby, aren't you lucky? Where you're laughing and smiling, you're not happening. All you ever wanted was a brand new man. Now you got one that you can't even stand. Hey, baby, aren't you the lucky one? Where you're laughing and smiling, you're not happening. Where you rattle like Elvis when you walk down the street, laughing and smiling to everybody. Hey, baby, aren't you the lucky one? Where you're laughing and smiling, you're not happening. Where you're laughing and smiling, you're not happening. Where you're laughing and smiling, you're not happening. Hey, thank you. The music was great. They're great.
So I know some people are still out.
Luann, nice to
But
meet you.
we're getting ready to go to the open mic. If you haven't signed up yet and would like to read, please come and join. The way this works is I'll introduce the first person, who will introduce the second person, and so on. So first up is Celia Bucktown State Sage.
So this is a new poem I've been working on for the last few months, latest version. Iphigenia and Isaac. It's always the sacrifice of innocence and stoking of fear, control, as though a whimsical god or goddess could be appeased through the slaughter of the young and vulnerable. Agamemnon at Aulis, desperate for war, becalmed offshore, willing to sacrifice his one daughter. Artemis, virgin goddess, could be stoked to stir the wind, so Agamemnon believed, through the blood and life of his tender Iphigenia, beloved of Achilles, she who pined for the great warrior to be. Artemis not even one of those three goddesses Paris had to choose from. Artemis, virgin of the moon and hunt, would she thirst for the blood of this maid, the tender Iphigenia, to raise the winds? Come, marry your love, the girl was told, lured to sacrifice and death, as if only the blood and life of the uncorrupted would sway that above human perception. Agamemnon could have chosen differently. He could have turned away. Let's wrap it up, boys, and go home. Let my daughter live to brilliant old age, bury me many grandchildren with the almost invulnerable Achilles, or let some other hero take his place. Maybe they, like him, would be unpierceable without the nasty, vulnerable heel. Let Menelaus deal with his own problem. Let him divorce Helen with an oath or curse of good riddance. What tales could be told and love songs written of the many generations born from that act of kindness and turning away, what could have been. And whether or not Artemis replaced the girl with a deer, still innocent, the men could have chosen differently. Abraham on Mount Moriah lied to his son Isaac as they walked the final steps to the peak of sacrifice. Abraham telling the beloved son that God would provide the sacrifice as they walked to the stone where Abraham was ready to slit the throat of his only child, the long-desired bearer of his name into the future, the fearful leading the guileless to slaughter, and whether or not a ram tangled in the briars to take Isaac's place, what can we say of protecting the young against even the greater mystery we don't know? The tested and loyalists and classicists may shriek, "You've got it all wrong. Acts of faith," they say, pagan traditions translated to oral and literary form, that we may learn of the travails and fears of our ancestors in a dangerous world, reassuring us that we are more civilized or evolved. As the children die in Gaza and on the shores of the Red Sea, who will replace the young bodies, the old, the in-between, with the ram or the deer? It is a dangerous world. The innocent, the delicate, the mortal, still lured to slaughter, their throats slit, bodies bombed, blood spilled, flesh burned in the ceremonies of self-validation and territorial disputes, the ravages of the senses, and fear on the one, the only planet, the only altar we all stand upon. We shred ourselves on the shattered earth when we turn a blind eye. Hiromi Yoshida, open up.
I'm going to read two poems. The first one is about a good friend who died recently, and he used to be a musician and a fixture of Bloomington, of the music scene 20 years ago. His name is Harris Burger. And this poem is written by our good mutual friend. He can't be with us here because he was way out in the 70s or Eastboro, I think. His name is Dennis Ray Powell Jr. And this is what he wrote for House. Let's see if I can read this without crying. Dennis wrote this about House. Harris, I love you so much. Forever. These cheers, thick, strange, complex, you. What happened to you? Did you get sick? Did you fall down and sleep in the snow? I could rip my chest open and build a telephone box where heart words. You changed with your beautiful bridge. You rode my motorcycle so drunk to the grave. We would dance so much just wearing our underwear, listening to Bell and Sebastian. You weren't afraid of the snow. Not back then, so young. You commanded pianos like they were your army. Your fingers and roots, these mythical votes. And you'd sing the kneeling music, cheer me up. You knew it was. You knew people's hearts. You crawled into their hearts. You were so tiny. You were gigantic. That was Dennis Ray Powell Jr. for Paris Brewer, all right. Okay, I'm going to read a poem from Icarus Redux. And it is a Christmas time incident that occurred 20 years ago. It's just amazing how 20 years can just fly by. And at the same time, how things are still kind of the same since 20 years ago. Anyway, this is called Saddam Hussein Captured Alive. The Associated Press captured a snide snapshot of a disheveled fugitive in cold December dawns, red enchantments, and tinsel gloriosos. Primetime holiday entertainment in an awesome alternative to that cheesy Jimmy Stewart flick on cable TV. For an American populace of hyperventilating supermoms, Republican dads, careless holiday shoppers, overtime caterers, makeshift Santas, and photogenic children, both naughty and nice. So let's give the bearded ace of spades his DNA shape. Gotta look spiffy for that war crime criminal. And let the President of the United States of America eat his Christmas cake with his, hard to see the small, with his name in silver icing too. Spell out the ultimate penalty while the Democratic opposition gets the White House full with ambidextrous advocates and extra strength and not as spikes. Give the Secretary of Defense his brand new mojo while he flips the bony bird at the Geneva Convention. Now know his renowned unknowns too well. Sit down at the family Christmas table. Father knows best how to sing with grace. Count our blessings. Ask each other, where were you when Saddam was jacking off at a 6-foot ship with his castrated angel done dreams? Stock market indices rise to new Senate heights, and predictions cast blonde cadaverous and carnivorous shadows in the wake of a dawning gladiator spectacle of journey to knees and the dew, porn stars in the congressional record. Thank you. Up next is April Ridge.
Hello. I think I got it. I'm not that much taller. So I was debating reading what I was going to read because there were so many people in here before, but now it's like, I was gonna have a vote of sweet or salty, but we're gonna do both. So I'll start out with the salty and then bring the sweet in at the end to make it better. So I don't feel like this necessarily needs a trigger warning because it alludes to like sexual assault, but doesn't get into any details or anything. So it's called If She Smiled, AKA is this 3 a.m. message from a guy friend, potentially a dick pic. Scan the gas station parking lot, which is the safest van to fuel up next to. Don't park in the dark part of the parking lot. Don't give that guy a ride home without anybody else in the car. 90% chance for unwanted romance. A little struggle and dance with the seatbelt as you try to get out as fast as possible, yelling for him to get the fuck out of your car because suddenly he decides to take it too far and show himself naked, undesirable, before you've even thought about shaking his hand. Make sure someone always knows where you are. Always check the hatchback and the back seats and the floors before you get in. You don't want to turn into just another statistic, the helpless victim of a system that won't help you. Don't sit in your car looking at your phone in the dark before or after work. Don't be the only employee with one female customer in a neighborhood bar. You could be in danger of having that one walk-in stranger who says you wouldn't make it to dialing 911. Don't crash on the couch at a stranger's party just for a few hours of sleep before stumbling home. Surely you are to wake up with a stranger's cold hand inside your shirt or down the front of your pants. Stinking whiskey breath panting down your prickling neck as you try to slink away, hoping they are more fucked up than you are and you can somehow escape unscathed. How many times the assumption of safety has betrayed me? But no, never again. I don't live that kind of life anymore. I don't have those kinds of friends. Be sure to always walk with your cold keys, jagged edges splayed out between the knuckles of your shaky hands as you walk to your car, looking for moving shadows always. Don't ever leave the house wearing sandals. You can't run from danger in sandals. Walking back from a party in your 20s, this lesson was only once needed to learn. The ground never failing to catch you when you fall, running from someone walking too close to you in the dark, on the way home after too many drinks, in a town full of ladies walking around in the dark after too many drinks. She stumbles, nearly disappearing in late fall dusky shadows, but he catches up to her, just to let her know she dropped her scarf and she's so pretty, and she'd be so much prettier if she smiled. So, the 20s are a fun time, right? So, I'm from a long time ago. And this one's called Sometimes You Gotta Give the Bark a Bone. It's from something that there's a National Beat Poet Laureate group, and the National Beat Poet Laureate of Ohio is doing this program called Weeping Poems, and she's turned 60 this year, so she sent out all these poems, or these cards that you're supposed to write poems on, like leave in a rain of plates. So I left this in the IU auditorium bathroom during the Times of Christmas program, the 2 p.m. program. So sometimes you got to get the barter bone. I'm not just some proud poet expounding profound analogies abound, like some of these talented literary clowns frivolously tossing their deep thoughts around. You can't live off of sonnets and soliloquies alone. One needs a meaty poem to squeeze between brittle teeth viciously from time to time. Every once in a while, you gotta give the bard a bone. Pretty odes to prior defeats cannot feed the disease that constantly haunts me internally, asking at times for words to appease this incessant echoing inside of me. We have to tune out the long, inevitable goodbye, the unending eulogy that begs the mind's third eye to sometimes stay blind from the visceral reality. A sweet haiku, perhaps left out in the open air to revive you. Embrace the death song within. Make friends with accepting that the end is just another part of the path to enlightenment. James Doors next.
Maybe. Oh. I'm going to read two poems, and this is from a book a few others have read from also, compiled and edited by Jenny Kander. It's a living read of Bloomington poets, which was published 21 years ago. How time goes fly. For those who get to the last poetry Writers Guild sessions will know that I'm a genre poet. I generally write on fairly dark subjects, so I will read two poems. Not to bring people down, I just think of preparations for a party. For instance, this is called The Instrument Maker. It must be done precisely. That's the point when drilling bone. The bore, the finger holes must be lined up, of course, for proper tone, but also with the player's reach in mind. And then the drums, the timpani, the heads can only be made from the finest skin of abdomen or lower back, while toms are stretched from foot tops, snares from upper thighs, and cymbals, the crashing, shaped with care from hollow shoulder blades. And then Jenny had us do a little introduction thing on what is your approach to poetry, or why do you write poetry? And I said something to the effect that I like the sound of words that are put together in a poem. So this may be an illustration. It's called Kiki in the Museum of Life's Pain. To left of the animals, stuffed armadillos, one crushed by a tourist bus, another eaten in soup or in rich stew, now known to spread leprosy. To write the music. Kiki is a dancer. And then the two-in-one, she loves best the ivory flute, hollows of swan's wings, the trembling. She once made the stand with her fingers, tapping the note holes. Now hearing the skirling is dust from the corridors of old lust's heart's ease, spins whirring about her, twisting her as it glows. She for her own part, heel-toning to rhythms, beat dull on her brain skin, the clack of bone cymbals. She pauses. Now silence as if time stops with her, but soon a faint rustling, the library section, where scrolls unroll on the wind, books bound in leather with leaves thin as children's thoughts, fragile as love's hope, swirl, flaking through hallways, the deep stairs of history, and tears once shed hot, now lie dried in as insects. And I believe John is going to close for us. John?
Or not.
So once again, thank you all for coming. This is not one of mine. This is a poem. There was a Mexican poet and artist named Frida Kahlo, and she modeled for everybody. She modeled for Diego Rivera. She modeled for get my glasses on, for Tim Weston, for Chino Gotti, for Gerardo Murillo, for Antonio Gardino. She modeled for everybody, and she's mainly known as a model, even though, as I said, she was an artist in her own right and quite a wonderful poet. And it's very hard to find her poetry anywhere. And I'd had a copy of this poem because a student of mine wrote a paper about her and included the poem in it. And I thought I had lost it. And just the other day, I moved some stuff in my office and I found it. So I'm very happy to share it with you again. The first time I ever read this for the Writers Guild, I said to the audience, I think a lot of women in the Writers Guild of a certain age made money in the 60s and 70s modeling for life art classes. And so this is for all of us who have smoked a joint and sat and posed. This is called I Pose for Artists by Naomi. I pose for the artists that make paintings. Always knew when I posed. And every time I am another thing that they have never seen. And they torment themselves with new paintings, which they paint in order to make one single thing that is my spirit, spilled inside of my body, escaping through my eyes. And they torment themselves, and rightfully so, making new paintings when I pose. And I offer always a new thing that is my spirit, spilled inside my body, leaving through my eyes, in order to pose for the sirs that make always from me new paintings. That's no evil. So everybody, thank you so much for saying. So I think, I'm not quite sure, I think Chris has the sheets for if people have been bidding on things and want to settle up. We have a lot of grab bags left over. And I would say, since there's a limit to how much I want to actually take to the library, please, if you would like to take a bag of books, it's my gift to you. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Thank you.